That's
Huh?
past my bedtime.
Yeah, that's fine too. So, all right. Well, hey, welcome. Zoom this evening. We're starting module 3. This is the last stretch. If you look at the syllabus, it's the module 3 is the longest as far as the week breakdown. So this will pretty much take us to the end. So on module 3, we will actually have this Zoom meeting, and then we'll have another touch base Zoom where we check in with each other on April the 3rd, I believe is what I have down. I may written that date down on my notes. So where the other ones we just had one. So I'm gonna do a screen share here in just a moment, and kind of we'll look at different things we've got coming up. So before I do that, does anyone have any questions up to this point? Up to this time on anything we've done? Dana, question?
Nope, it's about what's coming up.
Oh, it's about what's coming up. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna do a screen share so I can pop up my the syllabus so it kind of shows the breakdown. Yeah, my screen didn't pop up. Hang on just a minute. Let me bear with me just 1 second here.
I got to tell you, I just got an email from one of the classmates that said, Dana, wait a minute. Was he joking about being on Zoom till 10:30?
Yeah, I do that every time if you remember, right?
Guilty. I'm on East Coast time, so I really panicked
There
when
she is. That was funny.
I do that every time, just like a reaction I get. So you just have to ignore me.
Made me laugh.
When I start my 8 week sessions the very first night, which I did that tonight for 8:05, I met with them at 6. I do the same thing. Their eyes were just big. I'm like, I'm just kidding. I don't do that. We're good if we make it an hour by that time, usually just like brain dead. Okay, so coming off spring break, and we're starting module 3. So I'm gonna kind of go over some things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll after we if you have questions there, I'll answer those, and I'll just kind of move on down the line because this will really start to roll on. So coming up this Sunday, the 24th, you'll have teaching reflection 3, which is on that group discussion board. So it goes back to where you registered either basically preschool, elementary, or high school. Okay, is where you're putting that information in. It's the group discussion board. It's not the individual one. Then case study students, part 1 is a student overview paper. Okay, so actually I do have a few between the 3 sections of this class that have already submitted theirs, and I've already scored them and got them back. I can't remember if that involves any of you on Zoom tonight with me or not. But I did have some that were already turned in, and I went ahead and scored them and got them back with any type of feedback. So, and then the week after that is quiz number 5, the practice quiz 5, and then the case study students be part 2, which is the tier 1 lesson plan. So on the tier 1, if you remember, based on the level that you selected, it already kind of had a pre-made lesson on there. I believe it was a science lesson, if I remember correctly, based on the level that you selected. So you should have already done that. You're going to do a tier 1 lesson plan. And according to the directions, it asks you to make some modifications for that it could apply into the regular classroom setting because that is essentially tier 1. And then as you well know, we get into tier 2 and 3, and that's more small group and then that individualized one-on-one. So just based on those 2 weeks worth of stuff that's coming up that you're working on, should be submitting this week and the next. Is there any question on that? The praxis, it's pretty cut and dry to be practice quiz 5. Um, is anyone on the practice quizzes? Everyone feel pretty good about that? The questions, anybody having trouble understanding those? Everyone feel pretty good about your score so far and what you're getting and the content that's presented? I will tell you the feedback that I've gotten from students, especially later on down the line after they've had this course and they've taken that. They always tell us that the practice questions that you see on these quizzes through this class that's embedded in the class are very similar to what they actually see on the real praxis when they go in and take it. So they felt like it really helped them a lot. So I just kind of want to see if anybody had any questions on those, any feedback.
I took the praxis last Friday and they were very similar. It
Felt
was
like they were pretty.
yeah.
That's good to know. Especially this semester, that nothing really, they haven't really went in and changed a lot. So that's good to know that what we're putting in there and presenting to you on those practices still correlate and are pretty similar to help you out. So yeah, so you felt pretty well prepared after seeing those questions.
Yeah, I do.
Good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Anything on the reflection that's coming up, the group teaching reflection 3, the group discussion board. Any questions on that? A lot of that's pretty cut and dry on what you submit, things learned, things that you could improve on. It's always interesting, and I'm going to kind of preempt this. This is later on down the road, and I might have mentioned this first night when we very first met. When you get on down the road and end up doing the video, it's really interesting to go back and analyze that and watch yourself. I think I mentioned at the beginning of this course some of the feedback that I got from students after they went back and watched themselves. And some of them were really shocked at what they were seeing. Just maybe their body language or some of their mannerisms, maybe some of it was, I didn't realize my classroom was as noisy as it is. I don't know how in the world they're learning in there after I watched it. So it's really interesting to go back and kind of do a little self-critique on that. I always tell this particular class, it's a great way to improve your teaching and delivery methods. And if you think about it, coaches do this all the time, right? They record their games are recorded. They go back and study that game film, whether it's football, basketball, other sports, and they go through there and analyze to see what was working and what was not. And a lot of times they can pick things out after they go back and review it that they didn't see during that activity that was occurring until they went back and got to see it after it was recorded. And they're like, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? I just kept doing the same thing over and over and over again, maybe running a play and we weren't getting different results. How could I not see that? You can apply that same thing to your classroom. So it's really a great way to go back and do a little self-critique and just pick up on some things on that. So any questions over the tier list plan? It'll be due the week after, which is the 31st. Any questions on that?
Could you explain a little bit more? I guess I'm not quite understanding exactly what we need to do with it.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Brenda. The first question, did you locate the example that was provided?
Yeah, I have it printed off. I've actually like watched videos and looked at everything that's there. And so I wasn't understanding if I was supposed to teach the lesson or if I'm just supposed to create some accommodations that need to be used or what I need to do.
So on the tier 1 lesson plan, basically you're going to revise the lesson plan based on your level, okay? And it's going to ask you to revise it to where it's going to be appropriate for, I'm sorry, did someone say something? Okay, sorry about that. The revision is going to include appropriate accommodation that will meet the needs for your case study students, the 2 that you have, and you will suggest some tier 1 based interventions to use for all students in that tier 1 setting. So the tier 1 setting, again, is more of that whole group. Okay, but it's asking you to come up with some evidence-based interventions, maybe some modifications that would help your 2 specific case students be more successful in that tier 1 setting. which is more the whole group, okay? So you're basically just going to end up focusing on that one really part of that lesson plan, going in and adding some revised accommodations and interventions that would help those two, even though it's in that whole group. Does that answer your question, or was I?
So if I understand, I'm gonna take that lesson and I'm gonna look at the two students that I picked for my case study, and I'm gonna tell you, okay, for my student one, this is what's gonna need to happen for this to be accessible for that student, and then do that same thing for student two.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am. Any other question on the tier one?
I have some more questions because when I look at this case study assignment, whole 4-page thing, I get confused because it sounds like I put the accommodations that I want for the lesson plan in the lesson plan, but then in my paper, I write about the intervention I'm choosing. Is that correct? So that's confusing.
You've got to do two things. You're going to write it into the lesson plan, what you did, and then when you do the scholarly paper, you're explaining that.
So both the accommodations and the intervention are explained in the paper.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
That's not how it reads to me. So
No,
that's why I was confused.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, and I appreciate you asking that question because a lot of times it does create confusion. So your question is not anything that's out of the ordinary for class. It's kind of sometimes the way that's worded does create that confusion. So that's why we do these Zoom touch bases all through this course, provide that clarification, give you guidance on that.
Yeah, because it talks about in the lesson plan that you write those accommodations and cite them there. But then you go and write about the intervention in the paper. That's why
Right.
it's confusing.
Any other question?
What I don't know if I did it right or not. I basically left the lesson plan like you submitted it, and then underneath I think you asked us to do it in a different color. And underneath there, then I put like for universal design for all the kids, this would be a good intervention or accommodation. And then I listed for student blah, 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 this would be good for this student, and it's all, I didn't really put it in the lesson plan, but I put it right underneath the lesson plan.
That right, I'm right under, and that's acceptable as long as you can show me
Okay.
what you did, and then in the paper it provide more of an explanation on it.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, when we get on down in the next, like tier two and the tier three, it's going to be a lot more specific. But for this one, it's a little bit more broad on what we're looking for.
All right.
Because in the tier two and three, you're getting more focused. You have fewer students, and especially on the tier three, when you get into the one-on-one.
Yeah, I've got some questions on that.
Okay.
I think the main thing. Oh, wait a minute. On the part, I think it's part 3. Nope, part 2 with the tier 1. Nope, it's part 3. For tier 2 and 3 intervention on part 3, do we submit 2 lesson plans? Because it says day 1, day 2.
So let me go over that real quick with you. So it says you will your group, your 2 case study students together to target similar IEP goals, develop evidence-based interventions to successfully meet the IEP goals, and design one lesson at a tier 2-3 level using the evidence-based interventions. For this part, you will submit your tier 2-3 lesson plan, completing both the SPED lesson plan template provided in Appendix C and as a scholarly paper.
Okay, now on the pages that that you're pointing to right there,
Yeah,
on there, it says part 3 assignment submission. Number 2 says lesson plans for 2 sessions.
Mhm.
So
right. So there's gonna be two
what I
lesson plans.
did, I did lesson plan for one day and lesson plan for the next day.
Yeah, you'll have two
Because
lesson
really
plans.
pardon?
You'll have two lesson plans. Exactly.
Right, okay, that was my question. So we have lesson plan for day 1 and day 2,
That's correct.
basically,
Yes,
because that's 2 sessions, right?
correct. That's correct.
Okay. Um,
Can I put my lesson plans all the days into the same plan template?
yeah, that's what I
You
did.
can, you just need to make sure you designate day one, like day 1 and day 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, now my deal with okay, I've got some questions on on the grade book, there's a place where you put your self-reflection, where you submit that. That is the self-reflection, my self-reflection of me teaching my kids. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Then there's another place where it's peer coaching case study part 4.
Mhm.
On that, am I to put my lesson plan that I taught, the video of me teaching, my 10-minute presentation of what I think, and my reflection paper?
Yes.
All of that goes, okay, now here's my problem because technology is like what?
Okay.
How do I get all those things submitted under one thing? I mean, you have one subtitle to submit all that. It seems
Right,
like
should
I
allow
get
you.
one thing on there and then I go to click another attachment and it removes this one.
Oh.
I've
Is
had
it
to
not
do that
allowing you
before in
to do
other
multiple
classes.
files?
Do what?
Is it not allowing you to do multiple files?
Well, it would be two videos and 2 papers, I guess. The reflection paper, the lesson plan, my 10-minute what I think, and my 10-minute lesson video. So
You
I've
go
got 2 videos and 2 papers all to put under one thing.
Right, let me go in under the settings and adjust that word allow to do multiple files. It should allow multiple files.
Yeah, I've had to do that for a different class, and it allowed me to do multiple uploads, and it didn't
In the settings.
replace an
Yeah.
upload with the previous one.
Good. Well, that's what happened to me because I put one in there and then I
Oh.
went to try to attach another one and it removed the first
It
one.
removed it. So it's in the
Oh.
settings. So I'll go in there and look at that.
Thank
It'll
you.
be on the
Yeah.
settings. You should be able to do multiple files.
Okay, but I've got that straight. Those 4 things need to go in that.
Correct.
Okay. That was my question.
And that'll be later on. So I'll go in. I made a note in there that I need to go in and adjust the settings on that. So allow you to upload multiple files.
Well, I noticed, like at the beginning of the year, all 3 of those part 4s, when you clicked on them, it'd say, nope, can't go to that page. But one
Yeah.
of them you did fix. That
One of
I
them is, and when that course shell was copied over, those were automatically copied over from a previous semester. And when I went in there to delete those other ones, it wouldn't allow me. It showed that they were open.
Mm.
Why they're open, I don't know. It's copied from the
Yeah.
course. Most of
Well,
the
I
other
found
ones
one of them
deleted.
now. Out of the 3, there is one that you can submit stuff.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Yeah, if you'd make that to where it will take multiple things, that would, make things a lot
Yes,
easier.
I'm making a note so I can go in there, Dana, and adjust that. It'll be on the settings side. So in other courses, like I'm gonna give you an example, 805, we could upload multiple files for a final. And they had to upload like multiple lesson plans and a mock IEP video. They'd do
Mhm.
multiple things on that. So
Okay. Yeah, I had somebody tell me, well, click on all 4 things and upload them. Well, that doesn't work.
No, if you look at the year is wrong on some of them. They're
Yeah.
twenty
It copied
twenty-three.
him. It was in the
Oh.
court shell and it copied him over, and it wasn't supposed to do that. It's only supposed to do it from that semester. Like, let me give you an example. When we copied the course shell over, it copies from the fall. But one of the things I think that caused a glitch was the rest of the classes were changing from their traditional Blackboard to
Mm.
Blackboard Ultra. And so we had some glitches in there like that. The courses that were already using Ultra, everything flipped over and copied correctly. We didn't have that issue. So I think that is part of it contributing to the problem. On that where you're seeing multiples and it won't let me go back and take that off, or it hadn't yet. So
Yeah.
but in the settings, I can go in there and adjust that to where you should be able to submit multiple files and upload them. Okay.
Thank you.
Let me go back down here. I'll scroll back up. So we kind of got through the tier 2 and 3 intervention lesson plan, I think, with Dana's question. And then do you have teaching reflection number 4? Again, that's going back on that group where you selected the group, whether it was preschool, elementary, or high school. Then you have the self-reflection that Dana mentioned. And then the video that's coming up in April the 22nd through the 28th, where you are doing teaching and presenting that information. And then we get into right toward the end, the last couple of weeks, where you'll have your case study students, where it's part 4 peer coaching and the group discussion board and teaching reflection number 5. And then the final exam. So on the final exam, it talks about you can do the final exam and or submit a passing certificate for the praxis exam. Either one. So
I have a
anyone
question
else
about
signed up for that? Is anyone else on here tonight signed up for it or just recently took it
I'm taking it on Monday.
on Monday? Okay.
Well, actually, I signed up and I was gonna take it from home. I think Sandra and I talked about it because she was gonna go in. Anyway, I tried to take it from home and there was so many problems with the internet and it just, but they did honor my payment and they're
Okay.
allowing me to take it on Monday. So
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Sandra, what's it like?
It wasn't bad. It really wasn't too bad. I didn't know if there was a writing section. I couldn't find anywhere. There was no writing, so that was
No,
kind of,
I think
On
that's
multiple choice.
I think that's for your masters or something is the writing part, but
Yeah.
It
yeah,
should be a
what
very
is that?
similar format to the practices that you're seeing. Is that correct, Sandra?
Yeah.
It should be.
yeah, it was almost, I mean, the questions were different, but they were the same content. So
Same
it was
content. It kind of has the same format too as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
same format. Yeah.
So on that, like for each page, is it presenting a question or scenario, then giving you the 4
Yeah.
options, and then you select one and submit, and then it goes to the next one? Is that how that is? Yeah.
Yep. And then when you get to the end, you can look at review to make sure you answered all of them.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah.
Give you a timer going on it, allow you so much time to do it.
Yeah. 120 minutes or 2 hours. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then Sandra, how long did they say before you get your score?
April 9th is when I get my score. I took it on the 15th. So
You took
I
it
don't
on
About
March
3
15th?
weeks.
yeah, about 3 weeks.
About
I
3
don't
weeks.
I don't know why it takes so long. I mean, it's all multiple
Yeah, I
choice,
don't either.
but
I
Well,
thought you'd
and
get
my
your
thing
score right
is,
away.
I'm not taking it, I'm wondering if I'm gonna get my score before the final. I may
Yeah.
be taking them both, who knows?
Yeah, with it being all multiple choice and computerized like that, you would think you would get a
You would
pretty
think,
much score,
Right
raw
away.
score right there,
Yeah.
and you know whether you
Right.
passed or not. Yeah.
right.
yeah.
Dr. Posey, is the final exam, is the format of the final exam similar to the practice?
Yeah, it
Practice?
is. Yeah,
Same
it's multiple
concept?
choice. It'll have similar questions. It'll be
Okay.
timed. It'll give you a time format. I think it gives
Okay.
you, if I remember right, I think it gives you 2 hours on there. So it'll be very similar.
Okay.
Yeah, it will. For sure.
I think one of the most important things I learned was that it'll ask you what is the best option, because I'll look at things and go, well, that's true and that's true. And you have to pick the best. So be thinking about that.
Was there a lot of the questions like that? What is select the best option? You see a lot
Yeah.
of,
Yeah, and sometimes I would look at and think, well, this would cost the school less money, but I don't think that's what they want. I think they want the best option for the student, if that's
Right.
what you say, right?
student focused. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely keep that in mind when you go in and doing what's best for the student on that versus maybe what's least expensive for the district.
Yeah.
Right.
There was a
Yeah.
couple questions like that on one of the praxis or the practice tests that got
Yeah.
me, I was thinking more about something else, and I think they were thinking not like I was. So, yeah.
One other thing I was going to mention to you, and I noticed I haven't scored it yet, but I will. Excuse me, is if you guys already have your hours needed for the practicum and you want to submit that, you can, and feel free, even though it's not due to the end. I will go ahead. There are a few between the 3 sections of this class have already submitted. So everything else, I think within things that are coming up in the next 2 weeks, I've already scored if they've been submitted. But there are a few things sitting on there that, maybe was not due till late April or 1st of May. I'm gonna go ahead and start scoring those. And that does include that practicum log. So if you have it, if you want to submit it, get it out of the way, you don't have to worry about it. You can. It's totally up to you. Any other questions you guys may have up to this point before we get into kind of the second half stretch of this? Remember, we will meet again for this module in a couple weeks. It will be a couple weeks down the road. It'll be actually Wednesday, April the 3rd, when we'll do it. So you would have already done your tier 1 lesson plan, had your reflection number 3, and then we'll do that Zoom on the 3rd, and then you're getting ready to submit or work on or finalize the tier 2 and 3 intervention and start moving ahead on some of the bigger items. So that'll give us a good chance to touch base, and then actually we'll do another one on April the 24th as well. Have one listed, and that's kind of getting toward the end. So we'll have more than just one checkpoint as far as touching base on Zoom compared to the other modules, because this one has more weeks in it. And with it being the end of the semester in a 16-week course, it gives us two additional opportunities to meet, discuss, answer any questions you may have, and provide clarification for you. Okay, does everyone feel good with everything up to this point?
I was just gonna say the syllabus says April 6th. I don't know what day that is, but it's actually
Usually-
April 3rd.
Yeah, April the 6th. That's on Saturday, so I'll go in there and make
Okay,
sure.
so that date's wrong.
April the 3rd is Wednesday. So, and
Okay, I
then,
wanted to double check.
yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. So I need to look at that. Thank you. And then I'm showing the 24th, which is a Wednesday. It'll be 2
That's
weeks
on
after
here.
that. So I'll try to
That's
do
on.
these on, yeah, okay. So I'll make sure and go back in there and get that fixed from April the 6th to the 3rd. So,
That's weird. My copy says April 3rd.
yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe I
So,
downloaded it before it
Susan,
was.
was it on the syllabus or was it where I have it actually in the like Zoom schedule on the Blackboard
It's on
sheet?
this.
Really?
It's in the syllabus.
That's weird.
Weird.
Huh.
It's correct on the announcement page though. So
Okay,
It's
That's
correct
good.
on that one that you're
The
showing on.
syllabus
Ah,
I'm
it is.
looking at,
sure enough.
I've got section BA pulled up, and so the syllabus I'm showing you is in section BA. So I've got VA, B, and BC, And so VA, it shows April the 3rd. So Susan, which
Yeah.
one are you in? B or
I
C?
thought it was VB. I
Okay,
think I'm in B.
okay.
I
So
don't
look,
know.
I see what you're talking about, Susan. It says right down there at the bottom, Zoom number 4, April 6th.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
not losing my
No, you're
mind.
not crazy. You're not.
Mine says April 3rd.
I feel like I'm about to, but anyway.
Lee, which one are you in, Lee? A or C?
I am in A.
Yeah, and I'm looking at A. That's the example that I'm
Mhm.
showing on my screen share.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah,
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
weird. Okay. All right. Any other questions? I don't want to keep you guys too awful long. Whoever asked a question about 10 o'clock, was that Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
About that, 30 minutes,
Thank you.
35.
Thank
On
you.
that self-reflection, you gave us something to follow. What did we do well? What can we do better? Do you want it submitted like with that, or can I just write a paper and touch base on all those things that you
You can write
listed?
paper and
Okay.
touch base either way. Yeah, I'm good either way.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, guys, if you don't have anything at this time, I'm gonna let you go and we'll plan on seeing each other. Remember, April 3rd,
Okay.
Wednesday, April 3rd. Thank you,
Alright.
Susan, for pointing that out. So, if you have any questions between now and the 3rd, please shoot me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So, all right, so I'll plan on seeing you in a couple weeks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. Good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.